Good evening and welcome to another exciting episode of the Men's Lounge. Of course, I'm excited to be here today. I'm sure you are happy to see us as we come your way with a very, very exciting discussion. I'll be telling you about it pretty shortly. Let me start by encouraging you to join us on all our social media platforms at Facebook. At ETV Ghana. So on Facebook, Instagram, and all YouTube and all of them, we have at ETV Ghana. You can find us, and also the WhatsApp line will be quite open already, and so you can start sending us your messages the moment we start a discussion, and it has to do with 020-2222-054. I repeat, 020-2222-054. So last week we had a discussion on insurance, and it will interest you to know that it's important to insure your homes and your vehicles. And when you have a vehicle in the house, remember, the vehicle is not part of your home insurance. It's different just because there are different products that take care of the two. Don't forget this, but it's important that you do both so that just in case it happens, life is a matter of risk, really. And so, should it get there, I hope it doesn't, but should it get there, be sure to be safe. You remember one thing I said last week? I always thought insurance was fraud because I just don't understand why I'll be contributing for like 10 years and I never get an accident. But hey, I don't hope to get an accident anyway. But what it is, we just have to be thankful to God that we never get accidents and all these things. So we are here today. Maybe I should just go on my first break. But let me remind you that this show is being supported by Hollard Insurance. They help us with all the insurance tips and the financial tips. Very important. Let me remind you again that the Global Media Group, in terms of the broadcasting unit, is still celebrating their Made in Ghana month. I'm sure you can see on my feet I'm still wearing my native sandals. Today I might tell you what a native sandals really is made of. Just maybe. No, I won't tell you. I'll take this break. I'll be back shortly. Please stay with us. Welcome back. If you're just joining us, we just launched ourselves into the studios, and I'm here to do a discussion with two very great gentlemen. They've been here before. They are my very good friends, and today, guess what we are discussing? So we are talking about growing your business, and these guys are like detectives. Okay, so they know everything about growing your business 101. Like Charlie, they know everything. All right, and so that's obviously the reason they are here to discuss this with me. So I have with me Anthony Dzamefe. I'm sure you see how I pronounce Dzamefe. You know what that means, right? I'm a number 9-ish, and I'm sure with this Made in Ghana month, you know what the number 9 means when it comes to our brothers and sisters from the Ewe land. It's simply because the first person that won a pageant, 1960, I'll find the date for you, was from the Volta region, and then she was number 9. And the contestant number 9 is the reason why we say number 9. So don't forget this is part of history, and so you should know that. So I'm here with Anthony Dzamefe. He happens to be the CEO Caveman Watches. Guy,
bro,
I see you, Chair.
What happened?
Everything nice.
Charlie, will they manage?
She.
Will they watch you, Charlie? Everything day or day.
Everything day by day. I have the platform. That's what they say. All right. So I also have my very good friend Kofi Nankye. He's the CEO. Mood Seasons, those beautiful fragrances that we always have. He is the man and the brain behind Mood Seasons. Kofi, Akwaba.
Yeah.
You know, from that far we do Boza.
That's
it. Charlie, how you guys been?
So I'm good. So it's a pleasure to be back.
I know, right? How's the week been, guys?
Not bad. Ending the week properly.
Oh, really?
By being here,
By being here.
Yeah.
It's always nice to be in the lounge, I guess.
Absolutely.
Charlie, good to see you. Good to see you guys again. So today, we're discussing growing your business. And I was glad knowing that you guys are coming through because I have followed you and I know what it means. Okay, when you want to talk to somebody who has been able to move a business from a certain level to a certain pedestal. And so it's very important that I get you guys to talk about it. Let's just go straight to the point. So you both have great, products, okay, and great brands. Obviously, Mood Seasons, Caveman Watches is all over the place. I want to know, how did you start? Today, I want to know how it all started. Was it a dream? How did it start and how is it going?
Mr. Caveman.
He's throwing the ball at me first. Well, mine was kind of like an accident.
An accident?
Yeah. I never liked watches, weird enough. Sometime 2000, way before 2015, I never liked watches. I never got the concept of watches and why they were so expensive. So, I mean, yeah, I used to work in a hotel back then.
Which hotel was that?
No, I don't mention. But I was basically at the airport,
Okay.
you know, holding cards above my head, trying to find customers for the hotel.
Okay.
And it was not a very good paying job, but I was there for some time. And then one day I just said, nah, let me resign. So I did, and then I stayed home. I didn't have a job, I just resigned. And I just believed that if I had time on my hands, I would find something to do with my time. So I stayed home, juggled a couple of other businesses that didn't go well. Then one day I'm like, let me buy a watch. I walked into a shop and I had 50 cities. So the guy said the watch was 150 cities. And I was like, why is a watch so expensive? I mean, I could tell the time on my phone. So I went back, saw somebody else online selling a watch for 50 cities. So I called him and I bought the watch. Put the watch on my hand, took a picture of it, put a picture on my WhatsApp profile. Then somebody was like, oh, nice watch, are you selling it? And I said, yeah. Then, I mean, Charlie, we for survive.
I know, right?
The guy came, bought the watch, and I made some profit, and that was the light bulb moment for me, like, whoa, wait, I just made some profit. What if I sold 2? What if I sold 3? You know, I had this rush at that moment, and I called a guy, he came back, and I used all the money to buy 2 of the watches. I sold the 2, then I bought 3, and I sold 3, and I bought 4. That was just how I ended up falling in love with watches.
And today, Caveman is all over the place. How is he doing?
It's okay. I mean, challenges are normal for every business.
Of course, yeah.
So we say okay because the challenges are part of it. So okay doesn't mean there's no problem, but it's okay because it's normal.
It's moving, it's running.
Yeah.
Kofi, how
Yes,
did
sir.
it start for you?
Well, I've always loved perfumes,
Ah.
right? So, you
So
know.
yours wasn't an accident?
No accident.
no. Well, some would say it was an accident in some respects, but I think the idea of perfumes and the love for it was always there. But
Okay.
the idea to actually have a brand obviously was not. So I've done a various amounts of different jobs, ranging from finance, hotel as well. And most people don't know this, but I'm a biochemistry dropout.
You are a biochemistry dropout.
I am. So let's just say I retained what I needed to.
Yeah.
And I guess that passion, I was collecting perfume, so I had sort of an idea of how I liked to feel and what motivated me for what type of perfume to go for. So one day, I decided, you know what, let's try and conjure a different type of scent to see what would go out. I started giving out samples for free. Anywhere in the world you were, I'll send out a sample out for free, you know, at my own cost.
Okay. That was a lot of investment, eh?
It was. I think I didn't notice it as I was sending them out because it was small amounts.
That you were doing out
here
of
and
your
there.
own passion.
Exactly. And then, you know, all of a sudden you realize, oh, you spent about £10,000, £15,000 of money that, you know, quite frankly, before that I would have gone to buy drinks and all other things with, right?
Yeah.
And the feedback was immense. I was using the Facebook page. People were sending in reviews. They were saying, oh, we like this type of perfume. Do you have anything similar? And so initially, actually, so, you know, most people know mood seasons for the perfume oils. I actually started off with the perfume sprays, Eau de Parfum in the toilet, and actually stumbled on a bit of an issue of trying to export it. Because of the alcohol content, it's considered a prohibitive good.
Yeah.
So without certain licenses, you can't actually send them abroad. My client base was not in the country I was in. So at the time I was in the UK, and you know, I was sending it all over the US, as far as Uganda, Australia in some cases. You know, anyone that had an interest in perfumes, they wanted it. So that's where the idea of the bamboo packaging came from. I wanted something to reflect, you know, where it's coming from.
Okay.
And I thought that bamboo was that ideal statement to be able to encompass all. And you know,
You're there.
that's it. The name, you know, the name stuck. Mood Seasons, mood a reflection of how you feel
How you feel, yeah.
in a season at any point in time. And
That's quite interesting. But
Yeah.
let me come to you, Mr. Caveman.
Bro.
So that accident, and then you started off selling one, there's money, 2 and 3 and 4. How did you grow it? Did you tell someone, guy, I think I can do this, I need some help. Can you loan me some money to go into this? How did you grow it? Did you get a partner?
When I got the idea, I just started selling the watches bit by bit, right? So there's this guy in front of my house who had a little container boutique, right? That was the same shop I went to, and I wanted to buy the watch, but I couldn't afford it. So I went back to him, Rahim, and I said, "Oh, Rahim, do you know what I'm going to do? Can I just take pictures of your watches? Let me just take pictures and put the pictures on my social media platform. When I get a buyer, then I'll come and take the watch." So I didn't have to buy them because I didn't have that capital.
Yeah.
So I just go to Rahim. Sometimes he allows me to pick the watches from his shelf because he was just in front of my house. So I take it back into my room, set up a nice background, and do my little product photography. Then I send the watches back to him. So I was basically marketing the images. So when I get a buyer, I rush there to pick the watch. And I was doing that for some time until Rahim started to disappoint me. So let's say a customer pays for a certain watch on my platform. Then I rush there to pick the watch, and the watch is not on his shelf. Then he would go like, "Oh, just give me the weekend. I'll get the watch ready for you." I'm like, "Are you sure? I have to keep the customer waiting till weekend." I do just that. Then the weekend comes and Rahim starts to do the back and forth with me. And that really pushed me to the wall. And I was like, there should be a place that Rahim is getting the watches from. Now that he has pushed me to the wall, I need to find a place. I approached these guys at the bus stations who hawk watches, questioning them, "Where do you get the watches from? Where do you get the watches from?" Until I got one guy who agreed to show me where the suppliers were. He took me to the suppliers. I get there to the wholesale sellers. Then I met Rahim there. And I was like, "Oh, we've met here."
I see.
We've met here.
Okay.
So I got access to the suppliers and started getting the watches from them at very low prices, making my profit on them. Yeah, but at a point, even though you're plowing back your own money, you need to sort of expand.
Yeah.
So yeah, I got financial support. The little support you get from your close friends. I never got any magical figure of hundreds of thousands from any investor, but a friend gives you a few hundreds, 1,000, some few hundreds, you're flipping it, giving their money back to them. That was basically the sort of funding that I got.
Okay.
No huge money. So I've always found it really important that the people around you who could lend you a few hundreds, those might even be the funding that will build your business for you.
I see.
Yeah.
Kofi, how did you grow it?
It was a combination of learning from mistakes. This was the first real business I've ever had. So, you jump in with so many different ideas.
Yeah.
But then the real question is, how do you make this a business, right? Because you can have ideas and you can have a fantastic product, but if it's not a business, nothing comes in. So, we started off by looking at the channels, the sales channels, what works, how people interact with our marketing campaigns, how people respond to certain products. If there were certain scents they didn't like, there were some scents that actually we removed from our catalog because the feedback to it wasn't great.
Yeah.
We would give out free samples in addition to sales, so we sort of know in advance what sort of, and following up on sales as well to see if people can reorder. So it was a combination of these factors that sort of helped us grow. And then, at a certain point, you start to understand more about your business and sort of about, understand the direction you like to go to. And then you sort of have, you make a plan and you execute. For me, one major challenge, again, like I told you, was the delivery, being able to also sell, our products as well. We had a few issues with our bottles. So we had to sort of correspond with the suppliers of these bottles as well, push back and say, listen, look, this particular part of the packaging isn't particularly working for us. This is our feedback. So it went through all of those, and eventually we had an actual product that actually was sustainable, and that's how it went.
I see. I mean, before you ended, I wanted to ask you, at what point did you decide this is it, Caveman?
Yeah, when I started, I didn't have my own brand. I was just importing. Yeah, I used to get the watches from the wholesale guys in Accra. Then I started importing them, It took me about 3 years selling imported brands. And while I was doing that, the question was coming into my mind all the time that, how come all these brands are all imported? Like, I used to wonder. I would go onto the internet, try to look for African watch brands, and I wasn't finding any. And I'm like, for so many years, so, I approached these guys, the watch repairers, okay? I know people who have been repairing watches for like 5 decades and all that. And these guys know the watches inside out. So I was always wondering, if you know how these things are made, you know them inside out, what stops you from attempting to make one? So that was my question. So, I mean, while I was selling watches, the plan for me was to keep adding value after every year. So the first year, I was just selling watches. The second year, I moved into repairing watches. The third year, I was like, nah, people have good watches, but just bad leather straps. So let me learn how to make leather straps. So I went to Cantamanto. I became an apprentice to a shoemaker for about 3-4 months to learn leather crafts. So while I was there, I would take an imported leather strap and reverse engineer it, and then go to the market looking for tools, machinery that can do this, what can do this, So I was beginning to save money and buy all this equipment. Took them into my room, turned my living room into a workshop, and started attempting making leather straps. One bad strap after the other, one bad one after the other.
Until it got better.
Until it got better, yeah. So every year along the line, I would add something new to my service. Then after the third year, I was like, you know what? I had been fixing watches. I got so curious that I could break 10 watches down, take components from them and form a new watch that worked and kept time accurately. I'm like, wait, I'm almost there, right? If I can take like spoiled watches and make a new watch out of them, why not just make one and put my brand name on it? So it was a thought, it was just a thought. How would it feel like to have people wearing my watch? That was just a thought that I had. I wonder how it would feel like to see somebody wear my watch, my brand, So it started from that, repairing watches, knowing how they were made, selling watches to know buyer preferences, to know more about the industry in general. So I think I gathered enough knowledge by selling watches and repairing watches. Then I thought I had gained enough knowledge to introduce my own brand. So that's how I built it up.
Okay.
So it was 3 years into the watch industry. I was moving from car parks, people's offices, hawking watches here and there for about 3 years.
So that's one of the watches you have?
Yeah, that was one of my watches.
Interesting.
I was mocked pretty well by friends during that stage.
They wouldn't be mocking you now, I'm sure.
Of course not. So
I see. So Caveman, was it a nickname or how?
No,
I just want to know how you came about.
It was the name I came up with for 2 reasons. One reason is on the softer side. When I started making leather straps, already I never liked going out. I was a very indoor guy. So I stayed home the whole time just making straps, repairing watches, trying to build watches. And every now and then when friends try inviting me out, I would be like, oh, Charlie, I'm in my cave. I'm in my cave. That was the funny side of it.
Okay.
But the real reason behind the name was that while I was indoors working, I used to watch these documentaries, these geographical channels. And one thing that struck my attention was the arguments about how the pyramids were built. How the modern day scientists cannot wrap their minds around how a complex structure like that was built by people who had no technology like we have now. So it was really intriguing to me that, look, these guys are probably smarter than we think, you know, for them to be able to build some stuff, you know, and then they have cave findings, relics that are still durable till now.
Yeah.
So I had some interest in how those people used to work. So I said, you know what, I'm going to build a brand that would portray the values of handcraft, originality, and durability, like how the cavemen built their items.
Okay.
So that's the deeper meaning behind the name Caveman. Yeah.
Nice one. Because I've actually always thought about it. I'm like, this Caveman cry. But the guy is in nickname. Maybe some hidden old nickname
Now
somewhere.
it's becoming a nickname, right?
Of course, the Caveman. So you know, 2019, 2018, 2019, and then boom, 2020, there was COVID. A lot of businesses have had to change strategy, you know, adjust to some extent just to keep the businesses running. How has it been for you?
COVID actually signaled the start of me putting all of my time and effort into mid-seasons. So I was actually starting a finance directorship program with Hilton at the time. And I was in Jordan, the Dead Sea. And it was February 2020, I think. All of a sudden, the King Abdullah is giving a speech. Within 15 minutes, everyone's running around saying that we have 30 minutes to go on lockdown. And we ended up being in the Dead Sea with nothing but camels around you for at least 4 or 5 months. No work, no nothing. And I think that was the point where I was like, you know what, I think, you know, you have nothing to lose now. You know, this is probably a good time to try and push it, you know, and see how it goes. So yeah, I think COVID slowed down time. You know, throughout that period, the 3-4 months, I learned how to build a website. I learned how to do a bit of graphic design. A lot of the names of the fragrances, you know, when you have nothing to do, you start
Think a lot.
you start thinking a lot. You know, I woke up and I was like, oh, why didn't I call one Lannister? You know, things like that. So it really gave you a chance to slow down. Don't get me wrong. I think also the Achilles heel of it all as well is that it also slowed the ability for you to start at the same time.
Yeah.
So you had this period of time where you could completely design what you're going to be doing. You had time to really stock and build up on inventory, but you had less resources available to be able to ship because shipping prices had gone up by 4 times the amount.
It was crazy. I remember so well.
Right? Certain ingredients as well were unavailable.
Yeah.
You know, but then on the flip side too, you were able to negotiate as well because these companies, these suppliers also wanted customers at the same time. So it was a bit of a hit and miss. Once I started getting the ground running, I think restrictions started to lift a bit. And actually, you know, within the end of that 2020 period was when I actually started launching it in Ghana in October. So, you know, I was one of the people on the first flights back in September when no, at all.
But you know, talking about launching it in Ghana, makes me want to find out or ask you, how long has Mood Seasons been running?
We're in 2.5 years. 2.5 years. Almost 3. In Ghana, yeah, like I say, in Ghana, it's been since October last year.
So it's about a year.
I mean, that was different. You know, that was different. I think, you know, the channels for which you sell. We were talking before we had, you know, we were talking about you sell mostly on Instagram.
Yeah.
I hadn't touched Instagram at this point. You know, I was on websites and things like that because that's where my demographic tend to purchase things with their cards, etc. When I came to Ghana, the first question anyone wanted to ask was, "Are you on Instagram?" And I was like, "Oh, I think it might be time for me to launch on Instagram."
Start looking at that,
You know, so so COVID had its challenges, but it also presented certain opportunities. You know, and it was just a matter of trying to balance the two.
All right, so COVID had its own challenges, but hey, we had to do what we had to do. I'm going to go on this break. Please stay with us. We'll be back shortly. All right, welcome back. If you're just joining us, we are in the lounge and we are talking about growing your businesses. And I have with me Kofi Nankye. He's the CEO for Mood Seasons, those beautiful fragrances that you smell around. And he makes them, he's the brain behind it. And then I also have Mr. Dzamefe. He happens to be the Caveman. Yes, he's the Caveman. So the brain behind the Caveman watches. And it's the only made in Ghana watch so far that I'm aware of. I don't know if there's another. Is there? Not that you're aware of. Yeah. Whoa! So yeah, that's the only. And it's always good to have made in Ghana stuff. It's very important. It helps the economy to grow. Before we left off to the break, I mean, we were talking about the COVID.
Yeah.
Kofi had spoken a lot. What about you?
What COVID did to me, during that time, I got a lot of time on my hands, right? So I took the work phones from my workers, okay? And I started to handle the phones myself. And I was like, because at that time, we were complaining of a dip in sales, right? Then I take the phones and I start going through the phones and you start to realize unreplied messages from customers. Hello, is anybody there? Hello, do you have this product? Unreplied messages. And I'm like, so all along I'm here thinking people are not buying stuff, not knowing there are unanswered messages on the business phone. So, it gave me time to sit back and identify loopholes in my business and then to restructure the business. I think if not for the time that period presented me, I may not have been able to go deep into the business and find the loopholes and restructure it. So that was very essential for me. Yeah, so that's what the period presented me. A lot of things, but the most significant one for me was that I had the time to identify loopholes in my business and restructure.
Interesting.
So from then, we rebuilt the business and it was good.
I mean, I totally agree with you both on that score, because I mean, talking about COVID, there's a lot of things that a lot of people also were able to do, and it's all because the COVID presented time on our hands to have time for ourselves, time for the families, and it was such a good time, irrespective of the negativity around what COVID really was, but it was such a good time for a lot of families, a lot of people, and even some businesses. And it gave rise to a lot of other businesses. Remember, the deliveries were rather shooting up, the online businesses were working better, and all, and people were making a lot of sales online and all that. But talking about online, I don't know if you have noticed this. There's this thing that I think is happening around businesses, especially in Ghana. I don't know about those out of Ghana. But a lot of people who run businesses online using Facebook and some other social media platforms are beginning to have issues. I don't know. I don't want to think it's a deliberate war being waged, but I don't know if any of you have heard or experienced but I have seen it happening, and I don't think it's cool. Maybe we should start looking into it.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Yeah, I think you are talking to me directly here.
Oh, I am?
Yeah, Charlie, I suffered it like a month ago,
Really?
Just there on a random day, and then the workers called me that we've lost the social media pages. I was like, how? I know
With your kind of business?
Yeah, I had always been quite aware, of Facebook's policies and guidelines, so I was very confident that we were doing the right things on social media. We had professionals present on our page, making sure that we were not doing anything wrong. So I was very confident that we hadn't done anything wrong on our platforms. But then they just took the platforms down. This has been our official Caveman Watches page for close to 3 years. We had gathered quite some solid following.
And one morning, it's gone.
One morning is gone,
Oof.
I think we had about 21.5 thousand followers on IG. And the thing about our followers, we have a very special sort of following, because everybody in there is very sentimental about our brand. If anybody comes to buy Caveman watches, they're not buying them because they don't have options. There are loads and loads of watch options, watch brands, very popular brands. So for somebody to believe in the local watch and pay money for it, a certain level of sentiment and attachment. So we had very hardcore followers. You know, having people like Akon following your page, the New York Times following your. You don't get those followers twice. You get it.
Yeah.
So it was quite a very special kind of following, not the number, but the quality of the
quality
following.
of the people, yeah.
And then we were making almost 90% of our sales through IG. So when we lost the pages, it was like reflected directly in the books. So we had to start from one. And all Facebook would do is, oh, we apologize, we are sorry, we are investigating, we are looking into it. And then you realize that, Charlie, maybe they are just tossing you up and down. Just forget
You better move.
Better move, you know. So we started from scratch.
I see.
So now we are Caveman watches GH. Just added GH to it. But we're not building again.
I see. So that actually brings me to asking you, what are some of the greatest successes you have chopped in this game so far? And what are some of the challenges in your build up to those successes? Let me start with you, Kofi.
I think what he was elaborating on in terms of, you know, having people patronize your product, especially people of status, you know, patronize your product is such a proud moment.
Yeah.
Because it's sort of a reflection of how far you've come to get to the point where someone who, quite frankly, doesn't know you exist, all of a sudden is proudly wearing something of yours, right? And I think one of my proudest moments, again, would have been, I remember there was a time, I think it was just after the show, and I went to Roxanne's office, you know, and you know, I passed by, and he was like, you know, in his typical voice, "What's that?" Right? Yeah. And you know, he sits me down, and you know, he's kind of, this is some awesome, you know, and I think that was a moment where it definitely made me reinforce and re-believe in the vision that I had. You know, the vision, quite frankly, for most entrepreneurs really isn't, they don't fathom the point where, you know, you're going to be making these certain numbers or having certain people running your product. It's sort of a thing that just comes. And when it does, it's like, you know, you sit back and reflect and you're like, okay, you know what, it's a motivation to keep on going. You're like, you know, what I'm doing is right. But, you know, getting to that stage, it comes with a lot of issues as well. You know, you know, sometimes, you know, the more you start to involve others and you start to, you know, have staff, employees, your business now relies on the actions of them, you know, and sometimes, you know, you have this vision and this business is your baby. But of course, you know, when you employ someone, it's an income stream for them. It's not their baby per se. So the way and the amount of energy and effort they put into it will be very different.
They think they're doing you a favor, eh?
Right. Do you know what? Sometimes it's not even that. Sometimes it's just a case of, you know, they're being paid to do this. So it's not always a case where they believe and breathe the same way that you do. You know, no one will ever really do that the way you are doing it, you know. So sometimes certain actions can sort of reduce, you know, devalue a bit some of what you're doing. You know, sometimes when you have to, especially if you're delivering, you know, delivery services are a very big issue in Ghana. You know, where, you know, a customer could be waiting 2-3 hours, 4 hours, and may never get it, you know. And that, you know, they don't think of the rider or the delivery person, they think of your brand, and it's a reflection on you, you know. So, you know, you've had those situations, and you have to also find a way to sort of rectify them and maintain that value that you think that they believe, you know, you are supposed to be bringing at the same time. So, yes, you have your triumphs, and then you have your hatchbacks as well, but that's the beauty of running the business.
Caveman,
Bro,
you've had a lot of success. I mean, look, you I know you won't like to say it, but the fact is that it is working. What has it been like? Tell me what it is like to be there, and what are some of the challenges you've had?
I think one thing that bothers me a lot is that, quite sadly, when entrepreneurs come onto TV, right, we are almost not allowed to say things like the actual challenges that businesses face. Okay, sometimes I feel bad for people who watch interviews or see the success of entrepreneurs and decide to also jump into it, because we highlight the goods a lot. You understand?
Yeah.
So I'd always tell people to, you know, get a mentor, somebody who would tell you the facts on the ground that we might not say on TV or on radio. Sometimes you're not allowed to for brand purposes. If I come here and I start talking about financial challenges, how we are suffering financially, somebody who is probably thinking of investing in that brand will start to think twice.
Okay.
That maybe they are suffering. You understand? So people come on air and say the nice things. That's a sad part, you know. So let me just put that aside. But one challenge he mentioned, dealing with workers, right? And how they might not do things the way you will. I've always said that it is not difficult to do business in Ghana. It's difficult when you're doing business and you want to expand.
Yeah.
It's a different story.
Yeah.
Okay, if you want to run business in Ghana, small scale on your table, that you can view everything. You can do every part of the business on a small scale. You can do it. If you dare have big dreams and want to expand, you are in for trouble.
Yeah.
Because that's when you have a lot of workers.
Okay.
So it becomes difficult for you to be the final overseer of everything. So now things will start happening because you delegate things. And when people don't carry them to perfection like you would, then the brand, the image, you know, it gets tarnished. So expanding, you have to deal with a lot of taxes and pay this and pay that. There are people doing businesses in Ghana, CEO of this, CEO of that. They don't pay these taxes. Do you understand? When I started expanding, and then my accountants came in that, you know what the brand is getting now, the books have to be this and that. And then they are like, you need to pay tier 2. I'm like, what is tier 2? You know, that's when you know that things start getting real.
Yeah.
You know, so most people, things haven't gotten real yet.
Yeah.
You know, so when you start to expand and you get to know the technicalities, what you need to pay, what you need just to make sure your books are straight, because you have a big dream.
Okay.
And you don't want to leave any loopholes legally and be in trouble. So when you start doing the right things, then you realize how difficult it is. Then you realize the government doesn't really provide that support for startups.
For startups.
Yeah, that's a challenge, big time.
Listening to both of you, I hear brand. How important is it to you both to grow your brand?
Oh man, brand is everything. I mean,
because it's obvious, brand, mood seasons, person, Kofi Nankye.
Do you know, it's funny, I always try to hide away from the brand. It was only when I came to Ghana that I was always advised that, you should try and be out there a bit more so people can associate the brand with the person, because that's just how, people relate to the brand that way here. Where I'm coming from, you put your business there, and if someone wants to search CEO, they may find me, right? So, but brand is so important. Branding is very important. Especially in this, this part of the world. Yeah. Where, I mean, think of it from a, with watches. You see the watch. You kind of have a fair idea of the product you're getting. You can't see a cent.
Yeah, right? I've always thought about that.
Yeah, you can't see a cent.
Yeah.
And if you don't have a physical store, brand is even more important, because people, for us, we try to show Mood Seasons products as an experience, because we cannot sell it as a tangible product.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. All you're seeing is a bottle. It's when you look at Chanel, you look at Givenchy, and all these big brands. They've been brands for a few 50, 60 years, right? They've launched at least 40 bottles between them, and are creating 2.5 million units of these bottles every single year. So for them, whenever they launch a product, they're guaranteed 45% sales, because there will be stores latching up to want to stock them. But that all comes from the brand.
Yeah.
It doesn't even matter what it smells like. You get what I mean?
You have a point.
So when you are trying to, from my point of view, where I'm at that initial, compared to these brands, I'm at, a more initial stage. It's more of a niche, small scale, trying to upskill. That branding foundation
becomes very important.
Is so important, and you cannot do without it, because the minute, you're a smaller company, so the minute something tarnishes the image of that brand,
you're
that's
gone.
it.
Yeah. I totally agree with you. Caveman.
Bro. For me, the challenge when it comes to branding, I've always said that building a brand and chasing money are two different things.
Yeah.
They have to be approached two different ways. Okay, a lot of people are in business chasing money, not building brands. So when you're building brands, you sort of have to do things very differently. You have to sacrifice a lot more money. You know, do things that somebody chasing money wouldn't do. But at the long run, some of us, the dream for us is to leave behind a generational business. So the only way for us is to build a brand, you know. So there are things that I do, you know, you get to a point where you have to choose a direction. You hear people who are going like, oh, why won't he reduce the price of the watches so that we can all buy them, you know. I put a watch down there, someone comes like, oh, it's too expensive. This watch is not for everybody. And I'm like, you're right, it's not for everybody. And that's
it's obviously not for everybody.
Yeah, that was the plan. Anyways, you know, the plan had never been, I was not in it to chase money.
Yeah.
So I'm not in a rush to, like, now this is the thing about finding a good balance between price and quality. There's only there's a limit we can get to, okay? If you want to go below a certain price, you may have to sacrifice some elements of quality.
Yeah.
And when you're building a brand, I'm not in it for the money. So I would rather have very quality products that will sell at the worthy price than do cheap products that would defeat the purpose of the brand. So I'm not in it to chase money, no. I'm very patient. The right quality, the right people will buy it. There's no rush in it. I mean, so yeah, building a brand has always been the focus. There's no rush. I'm not in it for the money. I'm able to give some crazy warranty on my product, and I'm very unorthodox about it.
Okay.
Like, for example, I could put 1 year warranty on a product, right? Then probably after a year, you have a problem with it. I wouldn't say because the year had passed out. No, I would quickly take care of it for you. Which is not the formal way, but I mean, like, hey, it's better to have. They would say that the best strategy ever in business from time immemorial is to have a satisfied customer.
Yes.
It's very important because that's the only way you can have referrals.
Yeah, that's it. That's the best strategy ever in business.
I should be going on a break, but there's one thing I want to know, and which is the fact that both of you are operating within our jurisdiction, Ghana. Are Ghanaians appreciating your products?
I believe so. They are. You know, think of it this way: we are serial importers. We are serial importers. So, a lot of the brands that we are starting with, the watches, you know, perfumes, and other brands, you know, a lot of them are pioneers to this space. So you know, you are educating, you know, the Ghanaian customers that there's something like this exists. So, you know, that's always going to come with its challenges, you know, because, you know, people have preconceptions of the quality of something and they associate quality with a certain source.
Yeah.
You know, right. So you're having to educate them and reassure them on the products. And I think the more, I mean, I'm sure you attest to this, that every customer that has purchased your products are happy, you know, with the quality of our products. And I think over time, that's only going to get bigger.
It's only going to get bigger over time. I should be asking Caveman, I guess it's the same thing.
Yeah. You know, it's left to us to put in more work and try to get rid of that perception that had been in Ghana for a long time, that products made in Ghana are inferior and that. When I was selling watches, before I introduced my brand, I used to do these experiments. So I realized that somebody would call me that, oh, I just want a nice watch for my husband. So I take about 5 different watch brands, the popular ones, then I put the Caveman watch in the mix. So I step back and just watch the customer go through the watches. Then like 9 out of 10 times, they will pick the Caveman watch and be like, oh, this is nice. What brand is it? I've not heard of it before. That was teaching me something. That they flip through the Omega, the this and that, and they pick the Caveman watch and like, oh wow, it's nice, but I've not heard of the brand. Sometimes I just tell them, oh, it's a new brand, like really good watches. Then the person would buy it. Then I try something. After the person buys the watch, right, gives me money, then I'll be like, oh, I made the watch. I'm like, you made the watch? And I say, yeah. Then do you know what happens? 2 different scenarios. Somebody will just be, oh, wow, well done. They leave with the watch. Another type of customer will be like, wow, you made the watch, well done, you've tried. Can I see the other ones again?
I wonder what the reason will be to see the other ones.
Because now you're a black man, you're a Ghanaian standing in front of him, so
yeah.
You understand? Like, can I see the other ones again?
Guys, I think we should go for a break. We'll be back shortly with more. You want to see the other? Welcome back. If you're just joining us, we've been here discussing growing our business 101, and I have with me Kofi Nankye and then Mr. Dzamefe. Kofi Nankye, the brain behind Mood Seasons, the beautiful fragrances that we know of, and you've seen his bottles, those bamboo-made bottles, very, very lovely, and also the Caveman himself, the man who makes the watches. Let me just tell you, you know, he won an award recently for, is it Manufacturer of the Year or something?
Yeah, Ghana Manufacturing Award.
Ghana Manufacturing Product of the Year,
Yeah,
right? Yeah. So that was by a Made in Ghana watch. Well, he doesn't like to say Made in Ghana, but yes, he's the man, the brain behind it, and he won that award. At this point, the phone lines are open. The number is 0555-657278. I repeat, 0555-657278. They are both here. Call, ask them questions. There's been so many challenges they've had, and I bet you, just ask them, and they'll tell you about it. So, guys, the space we find ourselves in, do you think is helping your product?
When you say
Ghana.
space, what do you mean?
Ghana.
I'll let you start.
Yeah, I think it's helping.
It's helping.
Yeah, surprisingly, I didn't have that much of an expectation when I started. I was targeting the international market with my watches, but when I launched the product, I was a little surprised by how viral it went.
Okay.
And I realized that the Ghanaians are very sentimental, attached to the product. So, you know, we hear people saying Ghanaians don't support their own. I have very different views on that. Yeah.
Okay.
I've seen the heights of both sides of it. We've had a lot of support. You know, you mentioned Reggie Rockstone. I wanted to chip in. He's very supportive.
Okay.
Yeah.
Rockstone is very supportive.
Yeah.
Bolare has been in there connecting dots. Like, these guys have helped us a lot, you know. So I think it's normal. Nothing can be perfect. You would have the crazy side too. I recently had one musician charge me 100,000 cedis to mention my.
Oh boy.
I was actually going to talk about influencers, but let's go on. I'll come to it.
Yeah, somebody charged me 100, and you know what? The funny thing was that this is the thing. A brand is business, right? I accept it. It's not for free. I don't like free things anyways. But you charge me 100,000 cedis to post my product. And then you tell me that, bro, trust me, I'm just supporting you. I'm like, whoa, if you're not supporting me there, maybe you would have charged me
the whole business.
Maybe a kidney or something, right? You know?
Yeah.
So yeah, we've had support. We've had the crazy side of it. It's been good. It's been good.
Kofi.
Yeah, like you said, I guess I'll chip in on the more the infrastructure side. So if you are part of expansion, sometimes, like you're saying, if you are trying to export to customers abroad, you know, it does require certain things and elements to be in place. You know, and when you are manufacturing here, sometimes you are having to import certain parts that you need or ingredients. In my case, and I mean, you know, there's been a duty. Yeah. Most people think of duty when it comes to cars, but when you're looking at from a manufacturing point of view as well, you know, each ingredient is treated as a retail product. So it sort of eats into, you know, your costs.
And it builds out to your cost as well.
It builds up, and you know, you have to make a choice. Are you going to pass this on to your customers? Are you going to retain the same amount of support that you're getting or purchases you're getting you know, by increasing prices? So, you know, you have those challenges too. But like you said, you know, the other side of it, you know, you have your media people, you know, people that are in positions to help, who, you know, including yourself, you know, who puts our stuff out there, you know.
Who's that?
You know, and so you know, there are plus, like you said, there are positives and negatives to all of it.
I see. I mean, I would have loved for us to go on and on and on, but and especially to talk about the issue of the influencers. But let me just shelve that for today. Maybe another time we can talk about it. But let me take your last words, obviously, on what your advice would be for fresh startups. There are a lot of people who watch you today and they be like, oh wow, these are the people. Okay, I want to have their brand. I don't want to be like them, no. I want to have their kind of brand. What would be your advice for these people to start up?
The most important thing I would always say is that take time and search for yourself, okay? don't just jump into a terrain because you see people doing it. We are all very different. I always believe that there are some people who become very successful going up the corporate ladder, working for somebody, and some people are wired different, that no matter what they do, they will not succeed there. Just make sure you are not getting it confused. So before you think about starting a business, just do that search within. Know if that is the only way for you or not. And if that is the way for you, know the kind of business you would go into, because different businesses require different stress levels, different pressure. So know the kind of stress that you can deal with before you know the type of business you go into.
Interesting. Kofi.
Okay. To add to that, maybe look at it from another context. Time is everything. And once you have done everything that he has said, you have to invest the time into the business. And I know a lot of people tend to have it as a side business, right? With the full-time jobs they're doing. A 9 to 5, you're taking 8 to 9 hours of your day to do something else. Chances are you may not have the time to focus, to take the business to the point where it deserves to be.
Yeah.
So sometimes you have to, maybe if you believe in that business entirely, take the risk. You asked before, what's the biggest mistake you can make? The biggest mistake you can make in business to go bankrupt. That's the honest truth. So, if you are trying to at least touch base and make at least a particular profit, and you're seeing that there's an interest there, put your energy into it. And if you look past seeing it as a side business and you see it as a real business and something that you feel you can grow, that's the direction you definitely want to spend your time doing.
Well, told you already, so it's beautiful to speak with these guys because they'll tell you what exactly you need to know, all right, to help grow your business. Thank you guys. Thank you, Kofi. Thank you, Mr. Dzamefe, the Caveman.
Thank you for
and
having
I'm always happy to have you guys because I know I'm going to have a great discussion. Thank you guys also for being part of our evening. We're grateful to have you watch us and listen to us. Next week, we'll be back with another exciting one with a beautiful topic. I'll tell you about it when I come next week, obviously. Please stay safe. It's very important. COVID is still lurking around the corner. The vaccines are in. Please make sure you get them. It's very important. We'll see you next week.